Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Align Life, Brain-Based Health Solutions, Chiro HD, Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, German College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, the IFCO, and 100% Chiropractic. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 560 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
Today we have the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Grant Dennis. And on today's episode, we discuss how the IFCO and Chiro Hustle unite. Stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. This is a collaboration episode with IFCO President Grant Dennis and myself, principal owner of Chiro Hustle. Really excited for this. We're going to pump the volume up. We're going to let you guys know why we do and what we do it for and who benefits at the end of this. We want people to support the work that we do at Chiro Hustle and IFCO. But before we jump into this episode, I'm going to let people know our big why. Why do we do what we do over here? Freedom of speech, Second Amendment. It's big time. We've never censored anybody. We've never marginalized anybody. If you speak on our platform, you get heard. That's really important. We believe in medical freedom and family health freedom. Those things are not the same thing, but that's what chiropractic stands for. Is I believe that chiropractic is the last thing between check and mate within medical tyranny. So I support chiropractic unequivocally 24 hours a day. After that, we get a bit more philosophical. I know that the audience really loves it when I talk about BJ Palmer's Sacred Trust and supporting the Sacred Trust. If you don't know what that is, stop this interview immediately. Stop it now. Go over to your favorite search engine and look for BJ Palmer's last words. You're going to learn more about chiropractic than you ever knew previously. We do support subluxation-based chiropractic, and we believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence. So if you got a school out there that doesn't teach that and believe in that, go to a different school. And with that being said, we believe that when man or woman, the physical gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. Grant Dennis, welcome. You're episode 560.
560, baby. Hey, listen, man, drop the mic. I mean, what else do I need to say, bro? Your intro is like, it's gas, bro. It's fire. It's what gets me up every morning, man. I believe in every one of those things. You just, I can resonate with that. I certainly hope all your viewers do. You know, I love what you're doing over there at Chiro Hustle. And I love everything you guys stand for. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. I know that we were having a really second level, third level, fourth level, fifth level conversation before the mic got live. And, we were talking about how there's a sense of urgency and we need to get people to believe in what they're doing rather than wanting somebody else in an idea of leadership to step up and do it. There's room for all of us at the table, right?
Oh man, there's so many seats at the table. There's a whole lot of Indians, just not enough chiefs. And I think that one of the things that bothers me about chiropractic that I see across the spectrum of our beautiful profession is, if you were to walk outside, your chiropractic office right now, or if you were to walk outside in the street and you saw a newborn baby lying out in the middle of the street and there's cars flying by it, would you stand there and would you just look at that baby infant in the middle of the street? Or would you have a sense of urgency to say, that baby can't fend for itself. It's literally helpless. I feel obligated to go out and grab that child out of the middle of the street. Most would do that, Jim. But here's what's crazy to me is that when it comes to the chiropractic profession, it's no different. There are people out in our communities right now who are subluxated, who are sick. They're helpless. Their bodies don't adapt. They don't heal. Their innate intelligence is got all sorts of interference in the body's ability to heal and the brain to body connection. And they're truly helpless. They're no different than that infant laying in the middle of the street. But yet we have no urgency to go out and reach those people. We have no urgency to go and spread our message. We have been seeing 10% of the population for decades now. And I think the one thing that really I wish people could understand is that there's never been a better time to be a chiropractor. If you have a sense of urgency, people will flood into your office. And I know you get this because you go out and you're not even a chiropractor, but you still go out with a sense of urgency and bring in hundreds of new patients into offices because you stand behind the principle. And if we had just maybe 10 to 20 more Jim Chester types of urgencies in chiropractic offices, and I don't just mean from the standpoint of going out and getting new people and bringing them into your office either. What I mean is going out, getting people into your office, getting them well, giving them the big idea, taking the funds they give you and taking those funds and putting them into things that perpetuate our message, that continue to push the puck forward, that guard the sacred trust, that guard our ability to do this, that stand behind the same vision and mission that we're trying to achieve here. But man, we have so many Indians who are sitting around waiting on chiefs to guide us. We need more chiefs to be put into place to be able to be leaders in our profession. And, if we can get that, I think if we can start to view the world that way, 2020 primed us, bro. It's never been a better time to be a chiropractor. People are looking for alternative holistic health. It's not if, it's when. There's going to be another thing that strikes our communities that allows them to wake up to what it means to be healthy. We saw it in 2020. People are flooding our offices because they want holistic health. They want to understand where health and healing comes from. But if we're not showing up with the right message, if we're showing up with needles, if we're showing up with STEM units, if we're showing up with all this garbage that honestly is just confusion to our profession, then we're missing a massive opportunity. And I just think that urgency to be more principled, urgency to get better results being removing the interference to the mental impulse, which we know is detrimental to the optimal life expression, becoming really good at that, becoming really good at selling and telling that message. Man, if we can do that with a sense of urgency, I have no doubt that our potential is limitless. I just wish a lot of people would understand the urgency that it requires and what's at stake here and what's required to make that possible.
You said a couple things there, and I want to key in on a couple of them. One of the things is the leadership positions and how people can step in and do work. And acknowledging me for going out and scheduling a bunch of new people into chiropractic offices and believing in the standard of what that means to people. I was once told that if we don't tell people the truth about chiropractic, someone else will close them for drugs or surgery. And if that doesn't light a fire under every chiropractor that listens to this episode under their butt to go out there and to save some lives and to do that thing and to help more people. And then, taking that money that they're making and then, like you said, putting it back into chiropractic related organizations that are doing the right thing for this profession. I always tell people, I'm not a DC, as you mentioned, but give money to your state associations, man. Support those that support you. Give it to the IFCO. Support those that support you. Give it to the colleges that still protect the sacred trust, that haven't been bought and sold by big pharma. That's the problem too, is a lot of these schools that pretend that they're producing great chiropractors, they've actually been infiltrated by a group of people that have retired out the professors that stood up for philosophy, that talk about subluxation, that talk about innate intelligence and universal intelligence and real deal philosophy. A lot of the schools have been bought and sold underneath our nose, and they still pretend that they're producing real chiropractors. And I hear all the time, I get a chiropractor, goes into my office and they don't know how to adjust as an associate, or I have to hire somebody and train them for 6 months before they're ready to be a chiropractor. There's all of these themes that I hear, or they tell us not to adjust and to refer out because we can't do cervical adjustment on people. And I think that we need to support a few good schools, and then we need to be like church planters, and we need to go out there and plant new schools that have old school ethics, that have old school philosophy and real deal adjusting standards. And the hell with what they're doing right now with these schools and selling them out and putting kids out there into the real world. They don't know how to be chiropractors, man.
No. Well, it's no secret. There's only one, maybe two chiropractic colleges to send students to right now if they want to learn the principle and learn business. I want to go back to something you said a second ago, Jim. What I hear a lot Oh, why should I join the state association? What's in it for me, Jim? Why should I join the Chiro Hustle? What's in it for me, Jim? Why should I join the IFCO? What's in it for me, Jim? What do I get? What do I get for that? And here's the thing. To me, and this is an opinion, and you know, my 2 cents keep the change. Showing up in your office every day and earning a living through chiropractic is the minimum. That should be the bare. That's the requirement. That's the bare. That's a given. You do that. That's what you should do. You should do that. And guess what? You have all to gain out of that, not chiropractic. Now, so let me get this straight. You go into your chiropractic office and you sit on the shoulder of chiropractic to make a living, to produce finances from it, but yet you don't give anything back to the very thing that provides in your office for you to have the lifestyle you do. So why should you support? What's in it for you? There's nothing in it for you. It's a requirement. It's what's expected when you show up in your office and take funds from people. Because I got news. It's the same people who say that are the same people who have 90% of their clients come in and say, "Can you get me out of pain? What's in it for me? Why should I start care here?" What? And then their retention rate's terrible, and they had nobody to stay, and their back door is just as open as their front door, and they wonder why. It's because you're not congruent. You know, I just think if you can find congruency in chiropractic and you support the thing that allows you to receive support from, in other words, if you support chiropractic in the same light that it supports you, your chiropractic tithe, if you will. You know, I'm a spiritual man. I'm a man of faith. I tithe 10%, not because I'm like asking for accolades from that, because it's the system it's what I'm required to do. It's what I'm called to do biblically. Well, in the chiropractic Bible, BJ's been saying this for, was saying this when he was alive, is still saying it from his grave. In fact, Chris Kent has been quoted several times saying the polar vortex shifts in the universe are created by our founding fathers rolling over in their graves, A, at looking at what's going on in our profession, but B, looking at how few of them actually support the very profession that they incepted. You know, it's a slap in the face to a BJ Palmer to say, I do it exactly like BJ did. No, you don't. You don't support at the level BJ did. You don't check all your patients at noon. You don't still, send half your clients home without an adjustment. You don't have people flying in. Let's not lie to ourselves and say we're doing things the same, because it's a slap in the face to our founding fathers. But secondly, when you talk about, supporting these different initiatives and leaders and that sort of thing, listen, I genuinely feel like there's so many leaders in chiropractic out there who want to be leaders and they don't know where to step into. They don't know where to lean into. They say, I want to lead. I just don't know where to start. A place to start is your state association and say, hey, I'm going to become aware of laws, legislatures, lobbyists, my state board, what's going on at my state board level. So I can make sure there's nothing. If you claim to be about the principle, you're not aware of legislature that comes across desks that aim to threaten that, you're not principled. You basically say, oh, I just want to sit in my office, take care of people. Right. It's legislation in your state via your state board that allows you the ability to do that. I'd probably be aware of if there's anything that's threatening that. Good enough for you. There's a lot of state associations out there that do that, and an international association and an organization that oversees all those state associations at the state and domestic and international level, looking for these types of threats. And so, listen, you got time, talents, treasures, and resources. If you're not going to jump in the leadership role, that's fine. At least support it financially. At least read the emails that you support that come through. At least read what's going on that's being done on your behalf. Because look, I just think as a profession, we're confused. We're confused on what the principle is. We're confused on how to execute it in our office. We're confused on where to support. I see people all the time who are supporting things and claim to be principled that literally are putting money into initiatives and organizations that aim to strip subluxation from our lexicon, that aim to expand our scope and bring drugs in the profession. And they're sending their monthly dues into these associations that literally are open about, hey, I just want to hex all the subluxation. I'm a subluxation denier. It's outdated. And they then call themselves principled, but then send their funds to associations and organizations and businesses that aren't for that. And it's incongruent, man. And honestly, like for so long, I've just been quiet about it. I sit kind of over here, churning my hamster wheel, but I think it's time people wake up, bro. We got to have a sense of urgency. We got to really understand what's at stake here and what's on the chopping block. And it's people's lives. People's lives are at stake, bro. And if we're not going to take it seriously and with a sense of urgency, then I think we're in for a little bit of trouble down the road.
Well, I know that my belief system is popular amongst a small group of people when I say, hey, we just need to go back into these unprincipled schools that have lost their way and take the leadership back. And I say that in a lot of closed rooms. And this is like one of the first times I'm like airing that out to people is like, look, if you guys want to complain about the 18 schools or whatever that have been bought out by the cartel and that have been retired out by their initiatives to come in and infiltrate these schools that are doing this stuff, then you got to go get back in there. You got to get back in and participate in these schools instead of just telling me that there's only a couple schools that we can send people to now. Because if that's the case, then we have to find out ways to go in and do the right thing again. And the North Star agenda should be all schools should be principled for chiropractic. And if they're not, then we need to go wash it up and clean it up and then, get it back on track again. So where, my hometown's Davenport, Iowa. Like, I know that there's a lot of difficulty going on right now within like the understanding of where that college is going. Those are the people that started my career 15 years ago. So when I hear things rumbling in the ranks about like what's going on top of Brady Street Hill, I'm like, all right, guys, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Like, that's the problem is like, we've sold out the principle for a few dollars today, but like castrates the profession moving forward. And we don't even know, they don't even know what they've done. Like, they're so blind and ignorant to the fact that they've actually like done something like to destroy what BJ Palmer and the Palmer family have done on that hill. And we have to go at least win the Fountainhead back, man. Like, that's one place that we have to course correct. Otherwise, who knows what's possible for them to come into the really great schools that you and I give money to.
Yeah, well, you certainly bring up an interesting strategy, Jim. Definitely going into those schools and reigniting the principle. And what I've found is a lot of times the most on fire principal students come out of the most unprincipled schools. And it's because they want the principle. They don't get it. They're searching for, what they feel a calling that's deeper than what they're getting at school. And so they search it out on their own. I was certainly one of those. I went to Parker College of Chiropractic Medicine, and I wanted more. I wanted more than my education was giving me. I sought it out in green books. I sought it out in technique seminars, the very ones I teach in now. So you bring up an interesting strategy. I like that. Another strategy is one, it'd be interesting, Jim, if maybe we just started opening more chiropractic colleges that are principled. I hear that there's one in Scotland that's just opened its doors. That's pretty principled. I hear there's one in Europe, the European Chiropractic Academy. I know that one's principled. So there's a strategy of, hey, listen, if the homeland's lost and we lose our homeland schools to medicine and osteopathy and proctology and minor surgery and obstetrics and all that stuff, okay, so we lose a few, but hey, let's just open some that maybe are from the principled stature that gives students the opportunity to learn the principle. And, hey, if the homeland is lost, hey, maybe we have an international presence that sweeps chiropractic. For a long time, it's no secret the United States has held up the torch when it comes to chiropractic. They say interesting things happen in historical context. Maybe that it'll be Europe or the UK one day that holds the stronghold. Maybe it's Asia. Maybe it's Australia. Some interesting things happening in chiropractic colleges in Australia. Maybe internationally. That's why I get involved with international chiropractic politics. I don't love this stuff. I don't enjoy being political. What I do enjoy, though, is seeing things perpetuated for chiropractic principally in a positive direction that impacts people's lives for centuries to come. That's what I'm in this for.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Align Life, Brain-Based Health Solutions, Chiro HD, Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, German College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, the IFCO, and 100% Chiropractic. Let's hustle. Or these people making these poor decisions and the scope that I look through, the lens I look through, maybe they should come on my show and tell me why they're doing it. Maybe they should. Maybe they should come out and say, "Hey, this is why we're doing these things."
Yeah. Well, I would love. I've. There's these stupid movements like the Forward Thinking Chiropractic Alliance that's infiltrated Palmer with this subluxation denying outdated garbage. Anytime they want to debate this and anytime they want to talk about why they think that's nice, I'm open to that. I've said this multiple times. I would love to debate the forum on why it's stupid to expand, why subluxation very much still exists in practice, how it's been validated scientifically. Our science every day has caught up with our philosophy more and more and more. It's research and science that validates our philosophy. And anyone who says different is confused or ignorant or both. It's just that simple.
And if they stand on that, then they should be willing to speak publicly why they made those decisions. And I think that that's where we're at in today's, like, communication world. Like, a lot of people are making decisions for not the greater good of chiropractic. And if they want to continue doing that, then they should be able to say, hey, in full transparency, we don't like the principle of chiropractic, and be honest about it, and not be what in biblical times they called it a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Or a Trojan horse.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
well, I think, like, if that's their real agenda, then they should say this, and they should be a bit more honest and upfront with people that are, like, supporting their initiative and still sending chiropractic students to these schools that are not teaching them to adjust, telling them that these historical, like, messages that we stand for are outdated, because they're not. They're
They're not.
always going to be relevant.
Man, well, like I said, it says in the it says in Stevenson, condemnation without investigation. They've never investigated the principle. They're ignorant. There's a difference between ignorance and stupidity is awareness. These folks are not aware of what chiropractic is. If they were, they would know, but they're not. So they infiltrate that with false ideology. And so what happens is they're ignorant to what chiropractic is. Stupidity is when you're aware, but then you choose to look the other way. And so, listen, maybe you can be the one to make it happen, Jim. I've been calling for, several, I would love to debate this on an open forum with some of these folks who are subluxation deniers. And where is your information coming from? Mine's solid in the green books. I know what chiropractic is. Our founder and our developer said in Stevenson volume 14, in volume 18, in the various green books, what chiropractic is and what it is not. And so if you're going to come out with these crazy things behind closed doors, do it publicly. Tell me, our constitution, if you will, for chiropractic is volume 14. Where is the constitution for, forward thinking chiropractic alliance to say, hey, we're going to just subluxation's outdated. Great. So where's the founder and the developer talking about that? Do we have a new founder and developer I don't know about? Is there new green books being put out there that talk about the context behind chiropractic's origination? Jim, maybe you can be the one to start that forum, but we've been calling for that for, I don't know if you call it a debate, an open discussion. I'm open for that because we're in a place in America where we just can't disagree anymore, and we can't disagree jovially. We can't say, hey, I disagree with you. Let's talk about that in an open forum conversation. I'm confident in where I stand, and it probably won't ever happen. But listen, if it does, I'm going to stand confidently in principles, sound. And here's the important part. It's all based off one thing, truth. There is truth behind everything. There is a truth. I'm just not for standing on things that are not truthful and spreading lies and spreading things that are just not true, right? And so chiropractics since 1895 is very clear on what it is. We're not confused on what it is. Others are confused, but it's because they're just not aware of truth. And so because they're not aware of truth, they substitute that with lies. BJ said that in the early green books. He called his shot. We're still seeing it today. He said there's going to be a day where chiropractors try to be medical doctors and medical doctors try to be chiropractors. He called it, man. He was so far ahead of his time. But here's the deal. Now there's medical doctors who are trying to do upper cervical type stuff. They understand the implication of the vagus nerve and the brainstem and the central nerve system and interference to the mental impulse. They're just saying it in medical terms. And now we got chiropractors who want to perform minor surgery, right? So it's coming to fruition, but it's not going to be, listen, it's going to be over my dead body, and I'm willing to die on that hill.
Yeah, I was at I think it was a year ago. I was out at New Beginnings out in New Jersey.
Yep.
And we were, like, really emphatic, and we were all kind of, like, up on our feet talking to ourselves after one of the speakers. I think it was Ron Sinagra, and he was saying, like, what is your message? What will you do? And my message was, I'll die on this hill. I will die on this hill. I will die on this hill. And I kept on shouting that as loud as I possibly could in that room full of probably like 200 other chiropractors that were on their, whatever their spiz words were. And I was like, it's so important that we have a future of chiropractic that you and I will be proud of, that your kids and my kids can get adjusted by a chiropractor that does the right thing and locates, detects, and corrects a vertebral subluxation, allowing the body to do what it's supposed to and be a natural organism that self-heals and self-regulates. I always tell people when I meet them in like a screening scenario, the body doesn't need anything extra in it. It simply needs no interference. And that's such a novel idea to a lot of people because they've never heard anybody say that to them. They've never heard anybody say that. Just get your spine checked, do some x-rays, see what's going on, see if we can help you. Like that, no one's ever said that to them. That's such a foreign concept to them. So we need to do a better job of community outreach. I think that that's a big win for us is the people will appoint what they want. And like you said earlier on in our conversation, people don't know what to want because they've been fed so many cross different ideas of what they should do to be healthy. But no one during the past 3 years said, hey, go get your spine checked by a chiropractor. Check out your nervous system. They're the nervous system specialists. If you're having like a neurological problem, go see a chiropractor. Or, you know what? You should probably drink a gallon of water each day and keep your body hydrated. And you should probably think about exercising for 30 minutes every day, not just like when you feel like it, but this is a part of your vitalistic front to where you can remain healthy long term. And the greatest like thing in the world to make people healthy is moving the body. Like that's the number one thing. So if people are subluxated and there's lack of movement in that spinal joint, go get that thing checked, go get adjusted. And I was talking earlier to another guy. So like, look, if everybody that never saw a chiropractor, everybody, not the 7% that chiropractors fight over, but the other 93%, if they went and actually like got their C1 checked, they'd be like, this is the greatest thing that anybody's ever done to me. Thank you.
Well, I wonder how, yeah, I can't help but wonder how many subluxation deniers are subluxated. I mean, look, it's no secret. Like, so who's checking you, bro? I mean, because, and here's the problem, Jim, is a lot are really confused even on, the sad reality is, Jim, a lot of chiropractors out there think, the unsticking of stuck joints for cavitation is adjusting. They think that that's, you know, in some way, form, or fashion, like without any pre or post check of the vertebral subluxation, you're somehow, because I heard a bone crunch, so I just, what people think in their head, Jim, is like, oh, okay, so like I just adjusted my own hands, like I heard a crunch. Like if that's the criteria, a lot of PTs can do that, massage therapists can do that, osteopaths can do that. Anybody can cavitate a joint. Anybody can unstick a
Your
stuck
foam
joint.
roller can do that.
That's right. Yeah. So if that's the case, and this is what people are coming into our offices thinking, and you don't present the big idea, you don't tell them the difference and what makes you separate, unique, and distinct. What makes you any different? Why shouldn't they just go down the road? And that's what they do, by the way, is they're like, hey, so if that's the criteria, and then the other side of that is, how long does this continue to go on? How long do I have to just continue to go in once a week and have my spine crunched and go home? Like, what's the end game result here? I wish that we would get to a point in chiropractic where we sell the check, and that's what we sell is the analysis, the location, the check of the vertebral subluxation. The adjustment is part of the fee. And you may not get it every time you come in. In my office, I adjust 2 bones, 2 sides, all cash, no insurance, because I don't, I'm not knocking those that do, but I'm not going to portray to an insurance company I take care of M9 or M9901, which is segmental dysfunction. I take care of M9911, which is the vertebral subluxation complex. I'm not going to lie to an insurance company about what I do to get paid. I'm not knocking those that do. I'm just saying for me personally, I'm congruent in the message I sell, and I'm not confused. And people are not confused when they come in the office. They come in, they get checked. Some get adjusted, some don't, because what they value is the check. They value being assessed because that's what people understand. By the way, I've never seen anybody enter a medical setting and say, I can't wait to test positive for COVID. This is great. I can't wait to walk in and be like, all right, give me my positive test. They come in and they hope for what, Jim? They come in and hope for a negative test. So in the same fashion, when they come into my office, they don't want to come in and hope they have a jacked up central nervous system. They want to come in and be like, am I clear? Is my body healing and self-regulating or not? I'm hoping it's self-regulating, which means I'm clear and healthy and healing. That is a message people can get behind. What in my opinion, they cannot get behind is that I'm subluxated and have an interference to my nervous system every single day of every single year. And in that case, what's the point?
Well, you really set me up to tee this one off. So I'm just going to tell people at the end of our episode here, chiropractic is not medicine. It's a healing art. And chiropractors detect, correct vertebral subluxations. That's what chiropractors do. Every chiropractor is an artist. So every chiropractor does things a little bit differently. Unity without uniformity, unity through diversity, whatever we want to say, whatever like little catch like slogan we want to attach to it. But chiropractic's not medicine, in my like from interviewing 1,300 chiropractors. I think it's blasphemy when they put that on a diploma. I'm like, what are we doing here? Well, how are we going to confuse the people walking across the stage and tell them that they practice medicine? I'm sorry. And then
Confused.
so confused. And I see one of those diplomas on a clinic I walk into. I want to grab it off the wall and smash it. I do.
I haven't seen one yet in an actual. I hope I don't, but I it's hard not to, Jim. I mean, look, it's like it's confusion.
Last thing. Chiropractors adjust. There's no manipulation. Nobody wants to get manipulated. I don't want to get manipulated. If you think about the term manipulation,
It's ironic,
awful.
isn't it?
It's
ironic,
awful.
isn't it? That's
It's
interesting.
awful. So everybody, I think, would go for a good adjustment if needed, but nobody wants to come in for a chiropractic manipulation. So the semantics really matter. And when they want to like castrate the philosophy and cut it out of chiropractic and say, okay, we're not going to talk about subluxation anymore. We're not going to talk about innate intelligence or universal intelligence. Like, go kick the can down the road, bro. Like, they had me speaking 7 years ago, or like I went to Europe and I spoke at this school called the AECC, the Anglo-European Chiropractic College. I was on stage and they were talking before I went up and produced and showed our movie to the student body. They said, hey, Mr. Chester, there's a couple things you can't say when you come on this stage today. You can't say subluxation, innate intelligence, or universal intelligence. So the first thing I did, Dr. Grant, is I said, hey, just to get this out of the way, I'm going to let you guys know what your guys' faculty told me I can't talk about today. They told me I can't say 3 words. That's subluxation, innate intelligence, universal intelligence. So now that we got that out of the way, let's watch a movie.
Yeah. Good for you, bro. Listen, I mean, you stand for something, you'll fall for anything, you know?
I
BJ
mean,
said that.
I'm
Good
just
for you.
bullish enough that I think everybody should do that. I think everybody should, when they have a talk at any organization, at any school, at any philosophy night, at any state talk, like, go shoot your truth. Go tell people what the truth is. And I think that if you said, hey, I don't care if you guys are subluxation deniers, you guys can do that all you want to. But the profession of chiropractic was founded on subluxation based chiropractic. It was founded on innate intelligence, universal intelligence. It was founded on these things. You guys can go create another profession, but don't change chiropractic. That's what they need to hear. And maybe when I go speak at the Pennsylvania Chiropractic Association out here in a couple of weeks, I'll just open up my talk like that.
Why not?
And if people don't want me back, then at least I know that I earned my keep with the people that do want me back.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, is for far too long, it's happening in America, right? I mean, we're seeing that the founding principles and truths that America was founded on are trying to be changed. They're trying to be altered. It's one word, it's confusion. Is when you condemn something without investigating the true source of its origins, then you can poke holes at anything, right? They're trying to take the Second Amendment from us, bro. You started off the segment with, this is what we stand for, right? Well, America was founded on that thing, man. Like, why are we taking that away? Like, who are we to the founding fathers? There were founding fathers of chiropractic, just like there were founding fathers of our nation. That holds, truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal. I mean, look, there's certain unalienable rights we have, like there's a reason they wrote these things. And it wasn't just because, hey, this sounds nice on a piece of paper. It's because they lived it. It's the same with our founders in chiropractic. They lived this. People forget, man. There were people who were jailed for our ability to do this. People who literally gave up their lives, bro. The Herbert Ross Reavers, the list goes on of men and women who their lives were drastically altered. They gave their lives for this profession. And you feel like you have the cojones to come in here and be like, that was all in vain. I'm going to change this because I know better. So I'm going to move it forward. No, you're not. You're moving it backwards. You're taking it right back to the inception of what started this whole thing. Langworthy and Paxson back in the day, bro. It started then, right? But who are you, dude? Like, to come in and say, yeah, so that's nice, but that was historical in nature. We got to move this thing forward and become pain doctors and crack joints and put people on, muscle stem and e-stem and all this junk, dude, that's for physical therapy, bro. You're confused. You could have went to physical therapy school and spent way less time and way less money to be a really good physical therapist. So I got news for you, man. I do great work collaboratively with a lot of physical therapists in my community, but it's because I'm very clear on what physical therapy is and what chiropractic is. And so are they. Like, hey, let me stick to the neurological system. You stick to the musculoskeletal system. And we're going to help people. And guess what? You can collaborate with people in your town that way. There's nothing that pisses a physical therapist off more than a chiropractor who does physical therapy. Because here's what's ironic. You know what pisses chiropractors off? When physical therapists
does manipulations.
Yeah, right. But you do the same stuff. You go out there and then you do physical therapy on people. You're incongruent and you're confused. It goes back to just quit being confused, be solid on what it is that chiropractic is, and sell the big idea. Let other professions do what they do. Stay in your lane. You can build a lucrative practice. You can build a really successful practice. People who come in and get it. And by the way, you can be happy doing that, not miserable, chasing pain. Not just your whole entire existence of your office is built around pain. It's just a terrible, I don't understand how people do it, how they just have a strictly pain-based clinic when it comes to just everything around my office is surrounded about getting around pain, right? Like people don't care about the pain. What they care about is function. You can sell function. People, when it comes to, how much value, Mrs. Jones, do you place in your cervical curve? And I'm not knocking those who look at cervical curves. I've never met one person who was like, yeah, I put $20,000 on my cervical curve. What they put $20,000 on is my central nervous system functioning, because I see the detriment of that when I see that it's not working. Look at quads, look at paraplegics, look at people with neuropathies, neurological debilitating disorders. They will put emphasis on their nervous system function. I'm not going to put emphasis on structural alignment. That is proven time and time and time again as not an effective strategy. It's why I think, you and I were talking about before we came online, how come we just sat at the same utilization rate for years? I think it's a protective mechanism because the universe knows our offices aren't ready to see 50, 60, 70% of the population. If we had 70 to 80% of the population flood our doors, our offices and our doctors are not equipped to be able to locate, analyze, and adjust vertebral subluxation in that many people adequately. They're just not. So what happens is the 70% will flood our offices, will get exposed, and we'll dwindle right back down to the 10% again because we will be exposed. For so long, it's been dragged out. And at some point, we're going to have to wake up and say, until we're ready to locate, analyze, and adjust vertebral subluxation on a grand scale and be really, really good at that, and only that, and we're not confused with that, the universe will not deliver on its promise to send us more people because we are not ready for it.
I'm going to close out. Thomas Paine once said, give me liberty or give me death. And I believe that that's a message to the chiropractic world right now is freedom of speech is something we have to anchor on. And the future of chiropractic hinges on each one of us stepping into that gap and doing the right thing. When I was a little boy, I always knew if I did something wrong, I'd be punished. And I always knew that there was a wrong way to do things because I was reminded. And I just want to remind people out there that are in this chiropractic profession that we call the beautiful profession of chiropractic, when you're doing something wrong. So my call to you is to just do the right thing and to stand in the light, stand in the gap, and do what's necessary to move this profession forward, not forward thinking or moving, but forward to the point that everybody in every community understands what principal chiropractors do. And I believe that that's the message that we need to anchor down on is chiropractic needs to turn back into a principle-based system and take leaders that actually would die on the hill for this profession and support them and join them. And I really believe that there are some institutions out there that are doing the right thing. The IFCO is now joining with Chiro Hustle on some initiatives. So be on the lookout, guys. We are going to start doing the right thing. And that's the most important thing you will ever hear me say is we will continuously do the right thing. And we will then align the people doing the right thing with us. And that's what we need to all hear. And the next time somebody tells me not to say subluxation, innate intelligence, or universal intelligence in front of their audience and their students, that's what I'll lead with because that's doing the right thing. And I believe that I could do that because I want to stir the pot. But no, I want to do that because the people cannot suppress our freedom of speech, and they won't suppress our freedom of speech. We'll always find a new outlet to go and produce on. We'll always find a new outlet. Even if 5 people listen, that's 5 better than lying to them. So let's keep on delivering the truth, Dr. Grant. Thanks for being episode 560 of the Chiro Hustle podcast.
You got it, Jim. Thanks for having me, and let the truth set you free, my brother. Appreciate all you do.
Amen. Let's stand on the shoulders of giants and do the right thing. Until next time, I'll close out by telling everyone you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks so much. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.